hiring, right? The struggle is definitely real. You know, when we're talking about new team members, we have to realize that the hiring process has definitely changed. In fact, ever since the pandemic started, there's been a change and a turn in the tide ever since the world shut down. And now when it comes to options and employment, it seems that we just can't find the correct team members. Now that things are opening, businesses are getting back to normal, there's an obvious and a significant hiring crisis that's going on. And it's going on all across the country, especially in service. And yes, it has affected our industry of dentistry. Now, according to a recent ADA Health Policy Institute report, it says that more than 80% of offices and dentists are having a tough time finding team members. Now, when you think about that, 80% is huge. This is a true crisis going on in our industry. So if you're having this issue in your office, just know that you're not alone. It's happening everywhere. There's clearly something going on in the dental workforce. And although we're all aware of it, some joke about it, some lose night's sleep over it, we really have not been able to figure out and pinpoint the exact science of what's going on. So we just have to accept the fact that we cannot control, that there's not enough candidates right now. There's just not enough candidates available for work. But what we can do is we can adapt our culture right within the office so that we can attract the top tier people who are looking for a job. And that's really what we want to talk about today. Creating a culture that attracts new team members. How do we do this? Well, social media, online presence is one way. And that's what we're going to touch on today. There's something very unique about our world right now. We live in a time where I don't know if everyone has recognized, but it's very unique because the internet is so big. It's such a big deal, and it's created a huge opportunity that maybe wasn't here years ago. You see, we can reach people in different ways that weren't available years ago. I mean, look at today. We're talking to you through this webinar. So if you are focusing your practice team culture and you are deciding and choosing to show it online, that's actually a really brilliant way to market yourself, because everybody has some sort of social media. So you're reaching all kinds of people. And the great thing about it is you don't have to be an expert to do this. You see, you can advertise yourself in the best light. You can set up yourself for success so that when the new hires are checking your social media, they'll want to belong to your office. They'll want to come into your place. But to do this, we have to start with the mindset shift. We have to change the way we're thinking. We need to start thinking outside the box. Let's take, for instance, an entertainment. Let's take that world. Imagine an artist that's been successful over many decades. Madonna, Mick Jagger. What do they have in common? Adaptability. They adapt as the years go on. They reinvent themselves. They adapt. They adapt to what's going on. Why is adaptability important? Because it showcases your ability and your capacity to handle changes. And frankly, with what's going on in our world, things are changing daily. So if we could take a page out of that book and we want to stand the test of times, we've got to be adaptable. Let's think of that approach as we talk today, being adaptable, reinventing in a different way, moving with the times. And let's take that approach with new hires. Things are different. So how are we looking at things? You see, back in the day, the old school way, when you were going to hire someone, you put an ad in, you waited for the applicants to apply, you interviewed, and then you picked the best candidate. And the thing is that back then there were plenty of people. People were coming out of the woodworks, but not so much anymore. I've heard of some doctors that have put ads in, and over a 2-month period, they might only get 3 candidates and maybe not the top candidates. So we still want to pick the best people, We want to pick the best person for the job. But if we're willing to change our mindset and do things a little different, we will realize that we actually have some control in attracting the right people. We don't have to sit and wait and hope that somebody top level is going to apply. Things are changed. Things are different. Now, let me explain what I mean by this. Go with me on this. You've heard of the expression in real estate, a buyer's market and a seller's market. What this means is that based on supply and demand of potential buyers of homes or potential sellers of homes, it will determine which market you're in. Now let's take that theory, let's take that concept, and let's change the words and let's apply it to dentistry. Let's change it to employers market and employees market. Now, please note that this is also determined by supply and demand. So pre-pandemic, it was an employer's market, definite. There were so many people that were looking for jobs, and the supply of people was greater than the demand of the job. Not so much anymore. Things have changed. The table has turned, and now it's an employee's market. The demand of the job is greater than the supply of the people. Buyer's market, when you're buying a home, that's the time to do it. Seller's market, when you're selling a home, that's the time to do it. Employer's market, pre-pandemic, things were different. We handled things differently. Now, employees market. So we have to do things a little different, because what happened is this pandemic forced many people to reevaluate their lives, to reevaluate their careers and what they care about most. And in doing this, it has allowed the employee to have the upper hand in choosing a team, because there's so many options out there and because there's so many things to consider that maybe weren't an issue before. Let's touch on a couple of them. Childcare. Many schools are not open. And if they are, they have a lot of COVID-19 restrictions, which may mean parents need to be home or pick their kids up or not even send them to school. Daycares are not open. And if they are, they're taking a limited amount of people. Also, daycare cost has increased. So parents are now evaluating their salary versus childcare. How does that even out? Let's touch on another one. Physically demanding work with low to modest pay. People are now considering a higher pay as they have things that they need to pay for, like daycare and gas. So they're also considering benefits. So before, it wasn't such a big deal if you had benefits in this profession in a lot of offices. But now, in the middle of a pandemic, people have reevaluated their relationships with their family, their health. They need to make enough and they need to have benefits, and that's important to them. Another issue, availability of employment, as there are plenty of jobs to go around. So it's all about location, location, location. And we know gas prices are just outrageous right now. So team members, potential team members, are considering places closer to home, as they don't want to spend as much for gas and driving. So with all these things pressing, people are weighing their options. You have cost of living, childcare, gas prices, closer to home, benefits. With so many offices that are hiring, there's a lot of choices. So does this mean, as an employer, you just throw your hands up and it's over? No, not at all. And that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is it is imperative that employers shift their mindset and realize that if you're going to attract new team members, you must adapt. Like it or not, it's an employee's market right now. You have to make the needed changes when you're going about hiring, because things are different now. Now, since employees have so many options, here's my question to you. Why not be the best option out there? Why not stand out? Why not be so wonderful in what you're doing that they want to be part of your team. You see, you do have some control in this employment crisis if you choose to shift your mindset and do things a little different. One of the first things that I'd like to talk about that employers need to do is build a strong, solid brand. Build a brand that appeals to your potential candidates. It's nothing worse than an office that doesn't know what direction they're going in. Build your brand. You see, if the doctor is unclear of the company values and the direction and where everything is going, then trust me, everybody else is going to be confused. Your team, your current team, as well as possible new team members. Remember, new team hires are deciding between several offices. So when they're looking at all their options, you want to be the one that stands out. You want to be the one that knows the direction and you're clear on the direction that you're taking your team. One reason is because as they're deciding if they want to be part of your team, they want to see if they're in alignment with what your standards are, what your values are, where your team is going. So doctors, I want to ask you a question. Are you telling your story in a real and authentic way? Now, notice I said real and authentic because that is the true key here. You want to attract like-minded employees, right? That fit the culture of your practice. If you're not authentic and you sell a fake version story of your office, what's going to happen is you're going to draw someone who connects with that. And that's a fake version or story that's not really happening. So when they get there, this new hire is going to think, oh, I'm joining this team that's displaying this one way. And then when I get into the office, it's a completely different thing going on. Now, if you're lucky, they'll adapt. But if not, they may not fit with that real version of what's going on. You know why? Because you deceived them from the start. And what do you think is going to happen? They're probably going to leave and they're going to find the right fit. Because again, as a reminder, it's an employee's market and there's plenty of jobs available right now. So the options are there for them to find a fit. What does that leave you? Then you're back to putting another ad in. So I ask you, are you setting a clear mission, vision, and excellence of showing what you stand for? What is the brand of your office? Have you thought about that? What is the vision? Where do you want to take your office? And are you telling the public? Because if you're not doing this, not only will new hires not stay, but your current team may not want to stay. And not only will you not get top tier candidates, but when your current team, some of them leave because you're not providing the guidance and the structure that's required to maintain that quality team, where does that leave you? That leaves you putting in multiple ads for quite a few team members. It's something to really think about, doctor, because there are leaders amongst leaders, but you are the main leader. You are the captain of the ship. You set the tone. And if you're not showing excellence, you're not going to attract excellence because like attracts like. And I really feel that this is something we don't give enough attention to in our industry, the branding part of it, the mission, the vision, the direction. You see, when it comes to our doctors, we expect them to be fine clinicians. Oh, yeah. Oh, this doctor can do a beautiful crown, outstanding veneers, a precise root canal, an amazing Invisalign case. But we don't give enough attention to the branding element of the business. And it's just as important because it's the time when you're telling who you are. It's the time that you're saying, this is who I am, world, and this is what I bring to the table. And it can have devastating consequences on so many levels, especially when it comes to new hires. You see, in this day and age, we have so many platforms that are available for you to showcase your story. So there's no excuse. Are you using them? Are you using the platforms that are right at your fingertips? Doctors, tell your story. Be the best choice. Show the public what you're all about. Show the public why you love this profession. Why did you get into dentistry? And let the public know how you feel about your team, how you feel about your patients, what drives you to do this every day, to come in and work on patients. And the perfect place to do this is your website and your social media. Because those days of driving by an office and checking it out to decide if you want to work there are over. I've been in dentistry for 25 years, and that's what I did back in the day. I've only been in 2 offices in 20 something years. And I drove by the first one and see who came out in the morning and who left and looked at the building. Those days are over. We're in a totally different time. Potential new hires, they're now looking at your website and they're looking at your social media platforms. So what does that look like? In fact, when was the last time you updated your website? Or your social media posts? Are you doing those regularly? How about your logo? Are you telling your story on your website? Or is it just a bunch of words that people are probably not reading? Let's be real. Maybe it's time to revisit that website in particular and really look and see what the public is seeing. You see, we get so comfortable with things and then things change and then we forget to change them everywhere. So if you looked at your website, you might be surprised to find outdated photos of old team members or just the office, of information on your website that maybe doesn't really align with your current vision or your situation and what's going on in your office. Technology changes in dentistry. If you have the top technology, is it on your website? If you have prices, have you updated them? Do you have team members that worked there 10 years ago? I invite you to check out your website. Check it out. And if you need to make changes, make those changes. Now, we've talked about doctors telling their story. Now we're going to shift gears. Remember, we talked about that mindset. Now we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk about focusing on the team. Now it's all about the team because there has to be a balance. It can't be all doctor and it can't be all team. You have to share the spotlight if you're really going to show the full picture of what's going on in your office. Potential hires need to see your team. They need to not only just see your team, they need to see what your team is capable of. You know why? So they know what you expect of them. Before they even interview, they already know what your expectation is if you show them what your team is capable of. So setting a high standard is going to draw out people with high standards. So yes, they need to see the personalities of your team, but show them the skill set. Show them what your team can do. Because by doing that, you're showing them the whole culture. And remember, we talked about that balance. So with that in mind, I want to ask a question to you, doctors. Might be a hard question to take, but I'm going to still throw it out there. Are you allowing your team to shine? Or is it all about you? I don't know. Love you, doctors, but we talked about your role in telling the story. Now we've shifted. And now we're talking about your team. That mind shift, that mind change that we talked about in the beginning, because here's what you don't want. And I'm going to give you 2 extremes. You can have one extreme where the doctor never shows his face, never opens his mouth, and never says a thing. And you can just have like a dental office and nobody really knows who the doctor is. Or you can have the other extreme where that is all everybody sees. And frankly, that's not realistic because in a real office, the situation is it's not just the doctor working there. So there's a whole team there. There's a whole team of people. So why in the world would the doctor be the only person shown on social media? I mean, after all, you're showing and representing your team culture, right? And as we want to connect with a new team member, wouldn't we want them to see everyone? Balance is key. Balance is absolutely key. Now, some of you would say at this point, oh my God, what would my team say or do? How can they represent my office? I'm going to answer that question with a question for you. Are you investing in your team by making sure they attend the needed seminars, continuing ed courses, and training so they can truly be their best? Because the fact of the matter is, a doctor that invests in his team will have a competent team. And a competent team will know exactly how to help promote the office because they'll do it in whatever way that they can. The doctor won't have to be worried. What is the team going to say? Oh my God, are they going to embarrass me? They're not prepared because your team will be informed and they will understand the vision. As we talked earlier, you're setting that tone and you're branding and you're showing them the vision. So they're going to know the vision of your office and they're going to know how things are supposed to be. So what happens is they become your biggest advocate. They actually help you shoulder the responsibility in finding new hires by showing not only their personality, but their skills. That's how you showcase your true culture on social media and on your website. You include everyone. You let everyone shine. You keep that balance and that will draw others to come in because the tendency in our profession is to allow the doctor to be the spokesperson and everybody else stands back quietly and basically sits back and watches him or her do their thing. And that narrative needs to change because times are different. What should be happening is the responsibility should be on everyone to help find the new hires. You know why? Everyone in the office has to work with them, right? So wouldn't it be nice if everyone shared the responsibility of recruiting these new team members? We're in a unique situation, as I spoke of earlier, with the internet, and we're able to reach people in a different way. Are we utilizing it? Because when you invest in your team, that's creating a competent team, you'll have trust that they can truly help you. And one way, please take note, that your team can really help you is by allowing your team to create honest and transparent videos saying how great your office is, why they love to be part of it. Doctors, this is a game changer. You know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because now your potential hires are hearing from their peers, and that's very powerful. In fact, in dentistry, we all know the power of hearing something from someone other than the doctor. I'm going to give you an example because I've heard it a million times. Doctor comes in, recommends treatment, patient smiles. Okay, yes. Minute the doctor walks out of the room, patient either looks at the assistant, hygienist, or if it's the front admin and goes, do I really need that treatment? We've all heard it, right? Sometimes they trust the assistant hygienist or the front admin more than they trust the doctor. Well, news flash, the same happens with potential hires. Potential hires want to see how you treat your employees. They want to see how your employees feel about your place of business. They want to see what's going on from the other side. So guess what? Give them what they want. Remember how we talked about it being an employee's market and how there's a lot of options? Be the best option. It's right at your fingertips. Starting by branding, then treating your employees well, and let your employees tell everyone about it. Let them be your biggest advocate. Let your employees make videos inviting future candidates. The trend right now on Instagram, which is a great trend, is people are putting a post that says we're hiring. That's fantastic. How strong would it be to have your employees make a video that says, join our wonderful team. I've worked with Dr. So-and-so for so long, and this is why I love it here. There can be your number one advocate if you allow them. Then potential candidates, I'm going to say it for the second time, are hearing about your culture from their peers. And if you really are putting your team first and you're investing in them, this is going to be easy because your current team is going to feel like, oh, this is real. This is exactly how it is. This is wonderful. I want to help the team. What can I do, doctor, to help bring in new people? Current team members will know that you've created this positive environment and that it is a great place to work. And they'll want to share it, and it will naturally show in their posts. Because there's nothing worse than having a fake, scripted, awkward story, right? We all see those and think, are you kidding me? Who told them that was brilliant to post that? No, we want a heartfelt, genuine expression of what's really going on. And if we can do that and allow the employees to do this and help you in this way, it's going to entice the potential new hires. And I'm going to say it for a third time because my father used to tell me 3 times repetition for emphasis because they're hearing it from their peers. Game changer, game changer, game changer. So this is going to require something of the doctors. And I cannot emphasize this enough. You've got to let your team shine. We love you, doctors, but you have to let your team shine. You have to let them be great. You have to let them be great and show it. Do not keep their accomplishments a secret. It doesn't take away from you. It enhances you because you've got this team that are doing these great things. Give them the tools in the form of training and then the freedom to excel and to promote it. Highlight their strengths. Let them speak about it. Acknowledge birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, babies. Put it all on your social media. You see, the dental office needs to be sterile. The instruments need to be sterile. The room needs to be sterile, and we need to wear our PPE. But the one thing that does not need to be sterile to be effective is social media. People want to see your human side. We all want to connect, all of us. People respond to human natural stuff and they feel connected because doing this will show a team-centered culture. And that's what you want. You want to appeal and attract leaders as new hires. You want the best, right? So let your team shine. And that is what we want. Because if the pickings are slim, don't we want the best choice? Don't we want the cream of the crop? So show that you have high standards and you'll attract employees with equal high standards. If you have a certain position that you need to fill, take the person in your office that excels at that and let them ask other hygienists to come, front office admin to come and join, RDAs to come and join. Let your team shine. Show your brand, tell your story, let your team shine. And this is how you create and showcase a culture that will attract new team members.